Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Clark County Commissioners Court this Monday, April 14th, 2014. And before we begin, to look up the session, we'll have a word of prayer. Ms. Julie Smith has advised to give us a word of prayer this morning, and then will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance on the United States flag.
Father God, we thank you for this opportunity to gather this morning, Lord. We thank you so much for the moisture. And we just ask that you be with people that are traveling today, to offer them travel mercies. We ask that you be with the commissioners today as they make decisions for the county. Just be with us and guide us throughout the week. It's in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
First item on the agenda will be the approval of the minutes from the March 24th meeting.
I move we approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
And properly moved and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. Those in favor, show of hands. Okay, passes 4-0. Next item on the agenda will be the vouchers. It is to consider and act upon the approval of payment of vouchers processed by the County Auditor's Office for the period of March 19th, 2014 through April 8th, 2014. For checks, total checks 154,637 through 155,079, and wire number transfer 358 through 362 in the amount of $3,021,902.28. Entertain a motion to approve the vouchers.
Move we approve the vouchers.
Second for discussion. A couple of questions for the report. Page 3 of 49, check number 154677 in the amount of $170.11, a late fee. Can you help me understand that, Carrie?
Yes, we will be getting a credit for a portion of that. For some reason, the date we mailed the check and the date it was received closer to the account was about 14 days, I believe, between 10 and 14 days. We're not sure why the delay from the time we mailed it, but we did argue with them that we're going to get some partial refund.
Do we know what the partial refund is yet? You don't remember? Another question, and I was looking at page 17 of 49, check number 154875, City of Louisville, $65 honorary guard team member, fire and rescue. Is that some new credentials that they're receiving?
They're going to class down there.
Is this employees or these volunteers?
It's one of each.
While those are coming through, I want to bring attention to page 4, item 154680, two items from the AISD and the JP1 and JP2, the February 14th agency, the ISD comp. I'm just trying to understand what those are. What's one of the great.
We collect funds in the JP4 school, compulsory school attendance violations, and this is the share that we send to the school. We split those funds 50/50.
And to the degree of 50/50, the division, do we know, or certainly where ours is going, basically, is it to the state, is it some staying here in the county, and in respect to the ISD, do we know what those are?
Fines themselves stay local, court costs associated with it, which I believe are probably between $80 and $100 depending on their service fees. The majority of that will go to the state.
In a month. we have no idea, or it would, we would deny as far as what the, those funds are for your ISD. What those funds are being directed for.
Once they get to AISD.
A follow-up question, page 26 of 49, check number 154975. There's several line items. One in particular, $4,455, Class A uniform package, fire and rescue.
That's our, some of our volunteers wanted the Class A, the suit type uniforms. So we took their gas money, their gas reimbursement that we give them each year, and we worked it out with Kerry so that we can make a big order. The ones that wanted to do that, we didn't give them a gas reimbursement, and we took that money and put it towards buying the uniforms.
And then one final question for the court, page 33 of 49, check number 155068. Two line items, Versa Image Software. Dave, I'm just wondering what that software is used for. It looks like a maintenance. This is an annual maintenance line item.
I'm sorry, I was.
Versa Image Software. It looks like the county attorney and district attorney uses that software.
I have no idea.
It's for our scanning,
Your scanning.
software.
They obviously don't let me.
They don't let you use it. Thank you, Karen. That's all the questions I have.
Any more questions from the court? Questions about this? Hearing none, there is a motion and a second to approve of the vouchers and printed with the necessary answers to the questions. Those are in favor, show of hands. Okay, passes 4-0. Item number 3 is the insurance report. It was to recognize the insurance report itself. So recognize, Kate, do we have anything?
Yes, so the only thing is this report is a bit brief, and I just wanted to let you know why it was a little more brief than usual. There were 2 reasons. One was I was traveling last week, so I had to cut the time off early in order to get the items on the agenda. The other thing is TAC had some issues with the Blue Cross Blue Shield billing for 2 weeks of claims runs. And so they were slow getting those to us. You'll notice there's only 1 weekly claims reimbursement on this report. I have since gotten those 2 claims runs, but there are some contract questions that I'm working out with them. So it was kind of a combination of my traveling and the Blue Cross Blue Shield claims funding issue.
And so just a follow-up question to that, the balance on that is just inflated high due to the timing of those claims, I would assume.
Yes.
Okay.
And it will depend upon what TAC determines with regard to the contractual questions that we're working out.
Okay.
Thank you, Kate. Okay, item insurance report is so recognized. Item 4 is the financial report. It's to recognize the comprehensive annual financial report for the fiscal year ended September 30, 2013.
You should receive a short your box for our annual report. We did get a report as usual. And if we want to jump to the middle of the report, financial statements, basic financial statements actually begin on page 12, and on page 16, we see the revenues and expenditures where it shows that our general fund balance growth last year. So we ended the year with the fund balance.
17, so we have a growth of 30.
I would also like to show you all the award. This is our 19th award for our annual report, so we're very proud to give this award.
Very good.
Any questions about the report?
Thank you, Karen.
Very interesting reading if anybody else would do.
Item number 5 would be the quarterly budget comparison. It's to recognize the second quarter general fund comparison to report for FY13 and FY14.
I just have one question on the report, Commissioner, before we recognize it. Page 5, Carrie, in general administrative, some follow-up line items, the other expenditures. So last year at this time, we were roughly at 29,000. We're over 600,000. Can you help me understand that?
Yes, this is the continued insurance recovery that we came through the storm last year. Just this morning.
Anything else appeared to be pretty on target for the threshold in comparison to last year?
This is just something to renew the refresh the memory of the court. We've spoken of this a couple times in regards to comparative wage salaries for the whole county. And we've indicated we were going to look into that. Certainly we have not moved in that area. So I just want to bring that to attention. I think that that's something we definitely need to look into as far as some other issues that might be path forward. Going forward in regards to positions in the county, I think we get a chance to start looking.
Yeah, I think in this, the original initiative, and certainly Carrie, correct me if I'm wrong, the original initiative, we started to bring this to the court just to recognize every month, and we thought, at least the court felt that quarterly might be more timely. So this is certainly, I'm going to say maybe a year in the making in terms of a benchmark, a reflection from year to year and where we are on those expenditures. Thank you for that.
All right, item number 6 is Excel Energy Retro Commissioning. It's RX, it's a subscription program. It's not sure. It's to hear reports of Excel Energy Manager of Texas Energy Efficient Program and take the necessary action required to proceed forth with the Retro Commissioning Program. Mike?
Good morning.
Hey, this item is, I was approached about it last year. Ms. Milam with Excel Energy had approached me. At that time, I visited with Commissioner Kelly. Thought it was a good idea to get involved with Excel, to have them come in with this program with us. Then this last week, we held a meeting with Excel Energy, myself, Commissioner Kelly, Chief David Johnson, and Ed Dempsey of the Sheriff's Department, David Moore. We visited with Ms. Tanya Milam and Mr. Barker, the welding company, that would be the one involved with this program. Then again, last week, we held another meeting trying to get everything lined out. So at this time, I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Brian Winston of Excel Energy for him to explain the program to you.
Good morning.
Hi, hey, this is kind of related also to the second part of the y'all's agenda, the Excel Energy Efficiency Program. So, if y'all have any questions about either, I can talk to you about those. We started out with what we call a market transformation program, and developed and we hired Wilden to run this program for us. It looks at using low cost, no cost ways to save energy for our bigger customers. Customers around the range of 50,000 square feet to 150,000 square feet. So like I said, current customers that we have in here on this program, the Civic Center is looking into it, Emerald ISD, Bell Helicopter, West Texas A&M, PSA Hospitals, Hypro Bees, Texas Tech Health Science Center, Unique, and Pantex. So you wouldn't be the first one in on the program, in other words. BSA was a classic example of spending no money and saving a lot of energy. So that, not every report comes out that way, but that was just finally, you get lucky, you get a grant slam every now and then. But most of them, there is some cost to it, as adjusting your set points that you do for a facility. And what we do is provide the engineering support. So that's what Wilden does. We work with different contractors, different sponsors, some of which are y'all used to Brown Engineering, to do the walkthrough for us. And we, just like I said, we pay for that report. Sometimes it's in the range of anywhere from $10,000 to $40,000 engineering study on your facilities that y'all wouldn't have to pay for. course, we hope that out of this study, you do implement the measures to save energy. Does that make sense? Any questions so far?
What about the, and I think you highlighted this just for a brief moment, any structural infrastructure changes that have to be made to support it? And maybe if you wouldn't mind just entertaining a little bit about the background and maybe how it got here to the Panhandle and kind of the vision around that.
Okay, getting here to the Panhandle, there's other utilities across the state of Texas that have a similar type of program. And Weldon does operate those, specifically in the Houston area. So about a year and a half ago, we were looking at implementing this type of program and found out who's having success, and we got Weldon to do that with us. So like I said, we do have some major buildings here, and as you mentioned, the clients that are already involved to take advantage of the program. Like I said, it's a good way for y'all to not spend a whole lot of money, but to get the engineering expertise to say, hey, we need to look at this building set points, how we're running this chiller system, how we're looking at this, compared to the rest of the industry standards that are out there.
Give us a possible savings, percentage-wise?
Probably always looking around 5 to 10% savings areas is what we're coming into, which isn't bad for not spending a whole lot of money.
So most of the practices they identify are just changing the way we.
Right,
Set
over
points and
time,
stuff like
over time, the set points have fallen away. This is the way we've always done it, type issues. As opposed to this way we need to try to do it, type issues. And things have changed, not necessarily the thoughts and patterns to how to operate the machines have changed. So it's working with your control systems to bring it up to date. There's a lot of issues.
And currently, right now, for the buildings to meet the criteria would be the detention center, the district courts building, the county courthouse, and the sanitary building. Those buildings, all four, have automation systems within them. And I believe y'all are going to look to allow us to combine the several of the buildings together because they do not meet that 105,000 square foot criteria.
Yeah, we're looking at you as a whole, aggregate, taking the biggest projects. And out of that, Weldon may say, this, and this is a capital project, you need to update this piece of equipment, this lighting, this facility, and they'll bring that to your attention. And that would kind of lead us into our next phase of energy savings programs that we have.
And Mike, you're working hand in hand.
Yes, sir.
So Mike, I'm just interested to know, I mean, sounds very positive and an opportunity to save money. I'm interested to know, in terms of timing, if there's anything that kind of brought this discussion back to the forefront.
We had never known of these programs, plus especially one that's going to be discussed here in a little bit. Ms. Milam, she had presented it to me last year, to have somebody come in to actually study our facility, locate Power County. You could be doing this and we can save money. We have very large utility.
Yes, we do.
So if there's anything that we can do to pursue that, with the understanding, once the audit is brought back to me and the commissioner's court at that time, then we will, look at, what we can do budget-wise to start implementing these changes to help save energy on the buildings. I think it's a great program. I've heard a lot about it, talked to a lot of other people that have been involved in it.
So this letter of authorization that it's speaking to in terms of kind of an initial step to allow the process to start, it does not require the county, my only point of caution is that the evaluation's completed, there's a huge capital outlay that has to take place, and that we've now kind of signed a letter of intent, if you will, and that the Corps is then required at a particular time to update that infrastructure.
No.
No.
And you're not out the cost of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the letter of intent is for us to move forward on the project. Like I said, hopefully when we do this and we have the ECM measures, energy conservation measures, that y'all would be willing to implement.
But it would give us a guide if we want to improve things. And we can start a process or a step process.
Correct.
me when we were discussing it like a very positive program. I don't think there's any drawback to it at all.
And this will
I
be,
can do some comparisons, I guess, if we initiate the program, and look back at this year and see what the comparisons are as well as what energy's costing us. Hopefully we'll see a positive result.
Any other questions?
okay, we have any motion to proceed forward with the required action as far as allowing Lindsay to seek forward the retro commission program.
Also move.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to proceed forward to allow the retro commission program to go forth. Those in favor, show of hands. Passes 4-0.
And just a side note, I certainly appreciate being very aggressive in terms of saving the taxpayer dollar. I appreciate that. Thank you.
We need to do the next one too.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yes.
I have to.
Item 18 is the Excel Energy Rebate Program, and it's to consider an action on signing an agreement with Efficiency Energy Services to sponsor the county and the Excel Energy Rebate Programs for energy efficient buildings, upgrades, or construction undertaken on Hardin County facilities. Okay.
Under our standard offer program, every one of you is paying into our fund for the residentials under residential buildings, the EECRF, and all of our commercial customers are paying into that, so Potter County is paying into that fund. That is where we get the money for this program. If y'all are asking, the company is out in the sky. So just to give you a percentage on your residential bill, I pay 83 cents in the summertime. So it kind of gives you an idea. That's my highest bill. Is 83 cents worth of that program. So it kind of gives you the perspective of the amount of money that goes into the program. That way, on the commercial side of it, I haven't looked at your bills to Potter County's bills to see what y'all have on that. So that's where the money runs come from. Underneath that, we have our standard offer programs for commercial and residential buildings. So when we call it standard offer, it's prescriptive. If you change out a light bulb, we know it's this much savings. If you increase the air conditioner efficiency, we know it's this much savings. If you change your roof out, we know it's this much savings. So all that is prescriptive, that the Public Utility Commission lets us claim the savings. And so we are required to have this program and are required to meet certain goals. And so in order to meet those goals, we need all of our customers to participate.
When you say all of our customers, does that mean that then like sort of like a partnership, if all are not participating, or is it a
Well, if
requirement?
nobody participates, we're not gonna meet our goals, right? So obviously, we wouldn't have the budget for every commercial customer to participate, every month. But if we could get everybody at certain times and be all ready to implement projects, to do that, that's what we need. It's the same way on the residential side also. There's customers, there's companies that come out to service your house and make it more efficient.
And I'm not sure that I really understand the program and kind of, I definitely understand the funding and kind of where you're speaking to. What I'm referencing is paragraph 2, it looks like on this customer agreement where the energy services, and it's tagging a project sponsor for the installation of energy efficient measures on the project site. So I'm not sure that I'm following kind of this initiative and where we are.
I'll get to that part.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
thank you.
as we did the project, Excel Energy doesn't have the budget to go out and advertise to implement the program. We use project sponsors to do that for us. And so project sponsors could be any energy service company that sees a need that y'all need, that y'all need to have lighting, your roofs need to be replaced, more efficient roofing, and so forth like that. Does that make sense?
So the request is to partner with Potter County as a project sponsor.
We could be our own sponsor, or we can bring in a sponsor. You bring in a sponsor, David, please correct me if I'm wrong, right? We bring in a sponsor, they would work with us, they would do all the paperwork, they would file the paperwork. Out of that, on the rebate back, Potter County would get 65%, they would get 35% of the actual rebate coming back to us. We've had our roofs at the Santa Fe building that we'll be looking to consider, these brand new TPO roofs, cool roofs that we're installing. Our lighting retrofit project we're doing up there, going to LED lights. Eventually, we'll be looking at our large motors that we'll be changing out on our elevator modernization project.
So because those projects have been completed, then this would be,
They're in the process. We're in the process of being completed. Actually, to my understanding, we should have, the new program we just found out about, we should have got them involved from the beginning, before pictures, during and after pictures, in order to present that it was officially done. Todd, would y'all like to come up and speak?
As an example, Hockley County last year, they received just over $125,000 in incentive money for replacing roofs and lighting facilities. They did work on 10 different buildings.
It's similar to if I replace my air conditioning,
Right.
heating unit at home, then we get a rebate.
Right.
Same thing.
Same thing.
Curious to know, who would, you mention that, we had someone else to sponsor us, who would, sort of in the realm of, would be, sponsoring, Poly County?
You want me to answer?
Yeah.
Yes. Anybody can be a sponsor, so any energy service company can be a sponsor. We have in our program across the United States sponsors. We're going to be working with Walmart, or working with Walgreens, or working with a furniture store. Pantex, different people. So there's a bunch of different energy company sponsors out there. We do have some local ones here, and one of them is behind me. As far as the program's concerned, there's no, XL Energy doesn't care if y'all self-sponsor or use a different sponsor.
Well, the only big difference would be the paperwork, I guess.
There
What are the
is,
differences would be?
yeah, there is a learning curve to get into our system. Some of the sponsors have already passed that learning curve
Right.
faster than I have, so.
One thing I'd like to bring up though, which is, I've been to several meetings like this, there is a 10-year contract required, a standard contract that you have to sign with Excel.
With that sponsor.
Well,
With the energy efficiency measure.
Sponsor.
There's a, initial contract, initial agreement which states y'all have a program, y'all have a project y'all would like to do. And then we'll say, okay, go for it. We agree with you, we agree with your initial savings. And there's the final contract which states what you did.
I just bring that up because most governmental agencies have a problem signing a 10-year contract. Basically, what that 10-year contract commits you to is keeping the efficiency that the Excel program paid for either greater than it is or where it is. You can't go back. If you do, Excel reserves the right in that contract to, with proper notice, come out and look at your facility, re-inspect it. And if they find that you've gone back, then the sponsor has to come up with a prorated amount of incentive money that they pay them back. Does that make sense? Is that pretty close?
And I'm one-man show, so I'm definitely not gonna go through every building, every 10 years that we've done anything. So it would have to be an extreme circumstance for me to come back in and say, I don't think we're getting savings. Y'all said we're gonna
David, do you have something you'd like to add since you looked at the contract?
Not really. I mean, it just seems that Energy Efficiency Services as our sponsor would be able to help us through these first 2 or 3 that we're doing. And I think because we just learned about the program, that's why we're asking for them to be our sponsor. But in the future, whenever Mike decides to start doing his own projects, that may be a time we look at doing it ourselves. And this contract we would sign with Energy Efficiency doesn't lock us into using them forever. That would be on just these projects that we're doing currently.
and if I'm following this handout, there's 35% of the total incentive that will go to energy efficiency energy services. So we will lose 35% of that incentive by not being our own project sponsor. Am I following that? And with the projects currently in progress, do we know what our anticipated kind of rebate, if you will?
I have no idea.
We haven't had the opportunity to look at the projects. This just came about last week, and we're in the process now. We have to look at the roofs and get your roofing contractor and see where you're gonna go. Total square footage of the building under that roof, the efficiency of the heating, air conditioning equipment, and we calculate the incentive based on all those parameters. The lighting job, I'm not really as familiar with it as I am the roofing, but what we have to do is look at where you were before, what type of lighting you had before, and what you're gonna go to, and do the same thing with that, see what kind of incentive, and the savings that you get with that, what the incentive will be.
Just a follow-up question, in terms of your experience to the 10-year kind of contract that you spoke to, are you finding, and maybe there hasn't been enough time that's lapsed since when this program started, but my point of caution with this is 8 years down the road, the rebate that we then received, we're kind of having to funnel back in to maintain that efficiency because it has deteriorated for one reason or another.
Well, the Excel requires that any measure that they provide incentive for is a 10-year measure.
That's just the general life cycle of it. As you replace a light fixture or what we expect, the same light went in or better. And I think that's pretty basic.
Right.
That we would expect that. Same way with the roof, we're not expecting to take a brand new roof and say we don't like it anymore, we'll go back to the old one. We don't make that happen. So it's not like I said, the realistic part of this isn't, I'm not gonna come back out and double check every fixture. I do look at every fixture before you do projects and after you do projects. But I'm not gonna make it a habit of just coming to the courthouse every year to double check.
And does the county self-select the projects that they want to apply for the rebates for?
Yes.
Okay.
And then as like I said, as you get used to being in the program, that question, how much incentive money is out there, won't take long to figure out. And how much is this project worth? You'll get used to putting it in the spreadsheet. It's just that first learning curve is a little harder.
And that's something that will be incorporated on that spreadsheet we spoke of. Who's on tracking that? Is that, Mike, is that, you gonna be doing it? Is it Carrie? How's that on tracking?
I'm sorry.
As far as the savings, as far as the.
I'll work with Carrie on it.
Okay.
In your savings, I mean, Tanya is also here. I mean, she's more familiar with your accounts than I am. But she'd be glad to help you in any way to compare before and after. Is that the question?
Oh, yeah, just, well, you know, certainly this is our first
Right.
level of information on it, so,
Right.
I apologize if the questions may be.
Oh, no, I just want to make sure I'm
Trying to
answering my
get a
question.
threshold on it.
And is your concern, what concern I'm hearing is that something, when we can sort of review that, decide we want to go a different direction and do a lot of that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I certainly like, in terms of the program, that we can self-select, so if we feel like this is not a program that would be pertinent under that. My only cautionary piece is to lock us in to the unknown, which we don't know, and from a county perspective, and we're really taking a holistic look at all of our property. And so it's just, you know, from a
Right.
cautionary
But
piece.
you'd have to be as a county to make that decision
Right.
that we want to go back to being inefficient.
Well, that's a marketing fix.
So you would have to.
Because there is a dollar that goes with
Right.
that, and it's absolutely a balance and an opinion on both sides. So I definitely don't want to negate that, but there is a dollar amount that goes with that.
Oh, and I agree. That's why we offer an incentive to help get you to that point.
Sounds like a good program, and so I appreciate this, what we're all doing, and so we'll buy savings, so. Any other questions from the board?
Anything else, Commissioner, for the facilities?
I'll entertain a motion. So desire.
I will make a motion to approve the agreement with Efficiency Energy Services to sponsor Potter County in the Excel Energy Rebate Program for a review of energy efficient buildings. And Mike, certainly a follow-up to that is information being brought back to the court in terms of where we're
I'll second that. Okay. Did you get all that? I don't have to repeat all that again.
going.
Motion on the floor, to approve Exxon Energy and the corporation with them. Those in favor, show of hands. Passes 4-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you both for your time.
Okay, I see a number of visitors in here. Do we want to, is there any urgency of moving on to the issue?
Number 7, might be 7.
Number 7, Resolution Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Month, and is to consider act upon a resolution declaring the month of April Potter County Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Month.
Morning.
Good morning. Would you speak your name and introduce yourself?
I'm Darla Ingram with Child Protective Services, Joey Newsom, our chair of the Potter County Child Welfare Board, Tracy Baker, our preparation for adult living coordinator, and Stephanie Swindell, the Rainbow Room coordinator. And we're just here to thank all of you for your support each year that you grant us resources to help the children. It's such an encouragement to our caseworkers. With your money, we provide many things that keep our families together, which keeps children out of foster care. And, excuse me, that's our goal, is to keep the families reunited. We appreciate the help that you bring us.
Well, we applaud you. I know I personally applaud you for what you do. That's a very taxing and sort of a very nerve-wracking job. You continue to do that. That's one of the more high-profile jobs. I think it's certainly affecting our children. And so we applaud you for the work you do and anything we can do as far as helping you in that effort. Certainly very anxious to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I move that we accept the resolution declaring the month of April Potter County Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month.
Second.
It's been moved to accept the resolution declaring the month of April as Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month. Second, those in favor, show of hands. Passes 4-0. Anything else we need to move on? Item number 8 is the special report. Texas Government Code to consider act upon authorizing the establishment of the Safe Reentry Court in Potter County as authorized by Chapter 121 Texas Government Code. Safety. Mr. Eastland, is it Eastland? Yes.
Morning.
Good morning.
Richard now with probation department.
Basically, Energy can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is basically in addition to the drug court that we currently have.
Yes. What we're required by law by the Texas Government Code is that we register with the governor's office. And this is the first step to do, is registering with the governor's office, so that they will have record of the
How will that collaborate with the drug court?
It's actually totally separate from the drug court. Drug court is with Judge Ward, her name first. Reentry court will be with Judge Shack, 47 District Court. It's different in that these individuals actually go to safety, which is a lockdown treatment facility. They go there anywhere from 90 days to 12 months. Then they're released back to the community, at which point they will be meeting with Judge Shack on a weekly basis to begin with.
And where's the facility? You said the lockdown facility?
Yeah, they're all over the state of Texas.
Okay.
The closest one to us is a female unit in Burnett, Texas. Special needs facilities are down around Houston that deal with special needs offenders, and we have male facilities in and around the Austin area. But there are numerous facilities, so they'll go to the first bed spot available, that's where they're sitting.
And so I looked at this acronym, and what I'm showing is Substance Abuse Felony Punishment Facility.
That is correct.
That is the acronym, and is this a new initiative that started this year?
Oh, no.
This
SAFE has been around, I think, since about 1990.
Is there a reason that we're now kind of pulling it into the county umbrella?
A reason we're doing the reentry court?
Yeah, well, a whole separate.
Safety we've done forever.
Right.
We've done that forever. As far as doing the reentry court, it's just basically what studies have shown is the more judicial involvement the higher the success rate of these offenders. Most of the time when they go to safety, when they come back, they don't deal with the judge anymore. They're just dealing with the probation part of it. So what we're doing is bringing back in the judicial part of it, and they will be meeting with the judge on a weekly basis. That's the reason for that.
I'm interested, what spurred this kind of discussion to say it's time, let's start bringing this back, let's look at what we can do in Clark County?
I think Judge Schaff just showed an interest in it after doing the drug court and what Judge Moore was doing, you know, before people went down to safety. And so I really have to commend him on wanting to step up because he's volunteered his time. So it was basically just Judge Schaff and Terry talking about it.
Is there a target age group on that specifically, or is it?
No, anyone above 17 years of age.
And what are some of the benchmarks around that? I mean, I'm sure the team has put together some type of scope of what we want to accomplish through this program and bringing it here in the courtroom. Are there benchmarks in terms of reducing the rates?
Yeah. Right now, what the success rate of a safety offender, probably we're looking at 30%. And if you look at our drug court, which is prior to going to safety, we're about at 50% success rate. And this is, you know, for somebody that has, what we choose or what we're looking at is offenders that are max offenders. Basically, they have 1 foot in the door of prison, okay? And we're taking these guys and we're putting them in a drug court and then now we're in court and hoping to reach 50% success rate.
So it's a cumulative 50%.
Right. And the drug court to this point has been successful. We're right at 50%.
I move we authorize the establishment of the safety re-entry court in Potter County.
Second for discussion, just a quick follow-up question. So I'm seeing the operational date of the 1st of February of 2014. It's already in practice?
Correct.
Any feedback through that, since it's already kind of live and operational, if you will?
It's kind of a learning phase, you know. It's new for Judge Schaff. It's different. So right now it's just way too early to tell, you know. But again, I commend him for stepping up and taking this on. It is time.
Are there any other expenses from a county perspective that we need to be thinking about or mindful of with this new program?
At this point, no. And one of the reasons for registering with the governor's office is if there becomes any additional expenses, we can apply for federal grants as well as state grants. But we have to be registered first.
Right. Good job for thinking through that. Thank you.
Okay. Motion on the floor is the second to authorize the establishment of safety re-entry court in Potter County. Those in favor, show of hands. Passes 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 9 is the elections, and it's to consider and approve order of consolidated polling places, order establishing early voting locations and judges, and order of early voting ballot board presiding judge for the May 27, 2014 joint primary runoff election. Also acknowledge Central County Station officer assignments for election night. And Stephanie will land. Is there a specific differing locations that we've had before as far as the voting places?
Well, we just consolidated them down since the election is going to be relatively small. Everything's on the state level. Everything else would be the same as what we've consolidated.
When you say consolidate, could you give us a sort of a background of the locations that we're speaking of?
Yes, sir. You have, I believe, the order of consolidating polling places, and we have all of the 100s except for 121 precinct. All of the other 100s are in Austin Middle School. All of the 200s are going to be at Bowie. The 321, which is 322 Valadiero and Bushland, they will be at Bushland High School. 323, 326 will be at River Road Middle School, and then the 324, 325, along with the 121 precinct will be at Days of Awe. And then the 400 precinct will be at the old DHHS building on 6th Street. And then one more, I'm sorry, Highland Park, 327 will be.
I know there's not many voters out in the Valley of the Oro, but that is a long trip for those folks. You know, it's a good round trip hour to go from Valley of the Oro to Bushland and back. So they have to be pretty well committed to want to vote
Sure.
to do that.
There are, will be early voting, Saturday voting. A lot of those voters either early vote, we have some that do vote by mail.
And if we entertain and focus discussions on this, Commissioner, is there a specific location that you've pointed out that we might need to look at?
I just add another point, plus is all I do, and I don't know if that's necessary. I just want to make that
Sure.
aware and the public know that those people that are being asked to drive over an hour round trip to go home. The other concern I have is, notice on your judges, I know there's no law against it, but I think that judges, before they start this whole process, need to understand that it just looks bad when they get out and campaign for a specific. I know there's not a law against it, but it just doesn't look good, because when somebody goes into office, oh, I saw you out somewhere campaigning for a candidate, and I think it just doesn't look right.
I understand that, but like you said, there is no law against that, and well, the Secretary of State, we had her in our office a few months ago, and that was brought up to her, and she did not see a problem with that. And also the early voting ballot board judge that we have also.
And I don't think that's unique to this election cycle, Commissioner. I think there's, that is a reality of individuals that are volunteering to be part of the process. I don't think that's unique to this thing.
Right. Just want to make sure the integrity of our elections are.
Absolutely.
Right.
I wouldn't question the integrity. I wouldn't question the integrity of these judges either, so.
No, sir.
I'm not questioning integrity, I just don't think it looks good. You know,
Well, it's
what
the law.
is the law and what's.
But in the process, and I think what you're alluding to, Commissioner, is that in today's world we live in, everybody has an opinion on who they would like to see in the office. And certainly, as a part of the process, I would encourage those to get out and advocate for that position. So that should not eliminate them from holding a specific job as far as the judge. I think
They just need to understand. That's what I'm trying to say.
I
Understand that you cannot wear that on your sleeve when you're doing this job.
And they understand they have to conduct themselves professionally.
And if you would speak to us at once, I'm sure they have some briefing or process of educating the training that they go through prior to assuming that position.
Oh, right. I mean, and Melinda could better explain this to you, and she said that if you had questions, that she would come back at another session, and she would go into more detail with you. But all of the judges know, every election worker knows, for that point, that when you enter into the polling location, that, politics is, you don't talk about politics inside the polling location. And so they understand that, and we don't have a problem. Not aware of any problems with that inside.
So make that clear that they all do the process.
Yes,
right,
there is
right.
a process. They're all aware that that is not professional.
Have there any voters come to you and said they've been influenced by anybody?
No, sir.
It's not only, it's illegal as well.
It is, yes.
There's a big
Right.
fine in jail.
Yes,
As it should be.
I think that's not an issue.
right.
Okay, thank you very much. Entertaining a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the order of consolidated polling places, order establishing early voting locations and judges, and order appointing early voting ballot board presiding judge for May 27, 2014 joint primary runoff.
Second. It has been moved as stated and seconded. So those in favor, show of hands. Those opposed, passes 3-1.
Thank you.
Item 10 is the Panhandle Regional Mutual Aid Agreement. It's to consider an act upon adopting a resolution authorizing the county's participation in the Panhandle Region Mutual Aid Agreement. Dave? Saw your name on there, so I just.
I just put it on the agenda.
Okay.
I mean, essentially, I see John Keel here, and this is
John Kevin. This is Kevin's also candidate.
It's got PRPC letter.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner. Kevin Starlick, Emergency Management Coordinator. This is essentially an update to the agreement that was originally put in place in 2004 to establish a regional mutual aid agreement here in the Texas Panhandle. Most of the revisions that have been made have been adopting some refined language that are based on lessons learned we've learned from the 2006 wildfires and 2011 wildfires. Along with the primary piece that was changed was based on the adjustments that were made during last year's legislature from House Bill 3178 on the state level, where they have adjusted some of the language on costs, at what point costs are incurred under the mutual aid agreement on a statewide basis, which was applied on the 12 consecutive hour rule that the state adopted. A lot of that was based on lessons learned from the 2011 wildfires of FEMA reimbursement and some of the struggles that jurisdictions had in incurring any reimbursement.
Okay, I'm sorry, would you explain about the 12-hour consecutive?
Basically, what the way that the language reads in both the statewide agreement and what we're opting to have adopted in the regional mutual aid agreement is that for the first 12 hours, there's no costs incurred. And if you exceed 12 consecutive hours of response, at that point, jurisdiction would be able to bill a jurisdiction that they were assisting for that assistance. Therefore, making it where you would be eligible for reimbursement under that program through the Federal Emergency Management Agency if it was available. So it would require that FEMA would have to step in and say, we will reimburse for response in a major situation.
Which is an absolute shift in terms of the 2004 agreement that was, we would all mutually support each other with a net effect of $0, and we would all kind of come into play in terms of a billing. When I say $0, I mean, I recognize the expenses of getting support, but now for anything past 12 hours, an entity can bill. Whoever's requested it. So if Potter County
We're
calls.
still trying to do that. I mean, the document was rewritten to comport with 3178.
Right.
It was written to provide a basis in the event there was another Tanglewood, Willow Creek complex fire to where responding agencies could seek reimbursement if FMAG funds were available. But the way that Kevin and our regional advisory committee set it up, if your incident commander's smart, you're never going to exceed that 12-hour consecutive response time. We're still going to be able to operate a regional program where neighbors aren't charging neighbors for coming to their aid when they need it. It's just going to become a management issue for the incident manager to try to keep that consecutive hour meter in mind so that they cut them off at 11 hours, 30 minutes, go home, take a break, whatever the case might be, get off the fire.
A couple of the events that were listed in the handout, obviously speaking to some of the local fires, did any of those exceed 12 hours? Had this been in place at that time?
The total response for the fires, especially in 2011, definitely exceeded 12 hours. The key, once again, as John alluded, is that as we're working in the Emergency Operations Center and field responders are working that, is keeping track of how long individual units that were coming in from a mutual assistance perspective were on scene. So for example, if we were to bring in the units, a task force from Dumas, kept them on scene for 12 hours, sent them home for a rest period, we would avoid that potential that we would have to, then have to send us a bill for that response. So it would be just on that management perspective working. By the same token, in 2011, we learned very early on that we were eligible for federal assistance on the May fires, the Stone Ridge fire in particular. In that particular case, we could say, all right, we're going to keep these assets in place for an extended period, allow them to bill us, and then we could get reimbursement through FEMA to assist that jurisdiction in their response costs to assistance. So it just provides us a management tool of a breakpoint. Under the previous agreement, we would have never had that opportunity to get any reimbursement from the federal agencies because they basically said there's a no-cost basis to this agreement. We're never going to reimburse you for that response. So it just provides us a tool that for that first 12 hours, we do it free of charge, and we can evaluate, is this big enough, bad enough that we potentially will get federal assistance, and then we can extend that and use that as a basis to reimburse those jurisdictions for their time and equipment and effort.
And from a fiscal perspective, Carrie, what I'm thinking of is we're obviously halfway in our budget cycle now, and should we adopt this partnership, God forbid something really did occur, tragic, that we exceeded the 12 hours and the billing really did go into place. I'm wondering in terms of dollar amount or threshold, how much we should be proactively budgeting for, and maybe that's, inherent into our budget and we can accommodate those costs. I just don't want to catch us by surprise. So should something tragic occur.
I think the other thing to keep in mind is that primary assistance here between Potter County, Randall County, and the city of Amarillo is all based on the local mutual aid agreements that continue to have a no-cost basis. So at some point down the line, we want to evaluate whether we want to expand that or change that on the local agreement. So our local agreement will supersede the regional agreement, where currently there is a no-cost basis. So, for example, during the 2011 wildfires, where Amarillo Fire Department provided the bulk of the fire assets that assisted the county, we would never incur a cost because that would be under the local agreement where there is no cost associated with it. So there is that nuance to it. This is really applying more towards those agencies outside of Potter Randall County within this particular agreement.
That's helpful. And then just a follow-up comment on this agreement, and I think, John, this is from the PRPC recommendation, but it's recommending the Briscoe County Commissioner, so I'm not sure if it's a template that was pulled from, but if this is the actual document that's used, I want to bring that to your attention.
Well, we encourage Briscoe to pass it too.
Yeah, okay, good. That's all the question.
Anyone else report?
I move we adopt the resolution authorizing the county's participation in the Panhandle Regional Mutual Aid Agreement.
Second.
Okay. Second to adopt the Panhandle Planning recommendation. Please do. Those in favor, show of hands. Passes 4-0.
And
Thanks,
thank you, yeah, thank you both for your time and thinking through the logistics of that.
Okay, item 11 is the Tri-State Fairgrounds property insurance coverage. It's to hear a report on the status of property insurance claims on certain buildings on the fairgrounds and to take any action necessary. I think, Mike, you have a short presentation for us.
Give me one moment.
Yeah, right there's the flag, one shield. It should be next year. Connects the shield.
Okay. What I'd like to present to you here today, with the understanding that there's going to be some difference of opinions. We're not all going to agree on what's going to be presented. I and the Fair Board would like to present this to you to get it out for you to where we can try to come to a resolution on which way to proceed forward with this. This issue is in regards to the May 2013 hailstorm that happened on the leased buildings out at the fairgrounds. We do currently have members of the Fair Board here. We also have Steve Lapp with us here, as well as the committee members that have been addressing this issue. once again, just want to make sure that everybody understands this is not meant toward anybody. I'm just trying to present some issues to you. What I'd like to first do is kind of give you some past history on the fairgrounds out there since the 30 years that I've been involved here in Potter County. From 1985 to 1990, we actually maintained the buildings out at the fairgrounds. We took care of them. We did have some involvement from the Tri-State Fair at that time. Potter County Facility Maintenance in 1990 is when I was directed to stop doing any work out there. The spring of 1990, the fairgrounds property received hail and wind damage during that particular year. Commissioners Court only approved the replacement at that time of the Memorial Baseball Stadium. The commissioners did not elect to do anything out there. This building right here, you're very familiar with, is the old Fair Coliseum. Just a little bit of history on it. Spring of 1995 from our records. Fairgrounds property received hail and wind damage again. Potter County and the insurance adjusters inspected certain properties, but not all of them. No repairs or replacements were approved at that time on any of the facilities out there at the fairgrounds. January 1996, Commissioners Court approved to do minimal repairs to the Coliseum out there. That was really the only major project that I've ever been involved in since I started here. Spring of 2005, certain Potter County properties received damage out at the fairgrounds. The Department of Human Resource, as well, our Bowie Annex and the District Courts building, those three roofs actually received partial or mostly all replacements. At that time, was requested by the purchasing agent to inspect the fairgrounds property, which did receive hail damage. A report was presented to the Commissioners Court, but once again, no action was taken by the court in order to proceed forward. The sports arena, another facility out there everybody's very familiar with. This right here is a shot of the northeast portion of the roof up there. Received a lot of hail damage during that actual time period. Same area. In spring of 2009, fairgrounds property received hail and wind damage. July 2009, I inspected the properties, presented a report to the purchasing agent and the Commissioners Court. At that time, no further action and no known repairs or replacements were taken. In the period of 2005, the hailstorm that we received at that time, through April 2009, the sports arena continued to deteriorate. Mr. Perez and I visited this complex on numerous occasions. I come to the point, basically, I visited with Mr. Bartlett out there. The best thing for that building is to be torn down, since the County Commissioners Court would not elect to make a commitment to do something with that facility. So eventually, the Tri-State Fair Board did tear that building down. The facilities in question at this time are the Rex Baxter, the Bill Cody, and the food court canopy. June through August, the roofs were inspected by the following, being myself, Mr. Shay Williams with TAC, Mr. Rick Whitworth with TAC, and then later, a professional engineer, Mr. Kean Jenner. Just to give you proof of what I'm going to present to you right now is the actual report. I've given each one of y'all a hard copy of the report for which was presented to us. If you can just bear with me for a few moments, I'm going to read a few items here to the court. The Cody Arena. The galvanized panels on the south building were in poor condition with respect to the aging and weather. The surfaces of the panels largely remained galvanized, but small spots of rust were present. At some of these rusted locations, the corrosion at the end of the panels could form small, narrow cracks through the thickness of the metal. Also, the screw fasteners were rusted and the ceiling gaskets were deteriorating. At the location of some of the applications, we could see the small corrosion-caused cracks and rust reflecting through the ceiling. Inspection of the metal panels on the south side of the building received small, light dents coincident with hail impact spattered marbles. We examined some of the larger dents under magnification and found no cracks, ruptures, or rust in the dented surfaces. We did not find any locations where impacts had broken away the metal around the corrosion caused cracks. No fractures were found in the inspected skylights. I'm just reading this to you, it's an 84-page document, and I just pulled out a few items to highlight. Food court canopy. The galvanum panels on the food court canopy were in good material condition. The galvanum surface alloy had not weathered appreciably, and screw fasteners were not rusted. Dents were visible in the panels. The size and frequency of the dents were similar to those observed on the north and south buildings of the Cody Arena. Measured dents ranged up to 0.03 inches in depth. Dents and painted metal ray coping were the most noticeable, and you'll see that here in a few moments. Baxter Building. The painted roof panels were in poor condition with respect to the aging and weathering. The paint coating had weathered away partially, particularly along the corners of the ribs, to expose the underlying galvanized alloy surface. Also, the screw fasteners were rusted, and their sealant gaskets were deteriorated. Many ribs exhibited trims caused by football. In addition, the roof had been the subject of repeated repairs made by applying sealant. A large number of screws had been covered with sealant. Multiple applications had been made to some of the screws. Multiple applications of sealant had been made along the roof rake opening along the south gable. Apparent attempts to stop leakage. Last page. The galvanized zinc and galvanum surface alloys on the Cody Arena and food court canopy had not been damaged by the hail-caused deformation. The light dents did not crack the steel panel, including the alloy surface, and will not otherwise affect the performance or surface life of the panels. Similarly, the paint finish on both panels on the Cody Arena breezeway and the Baxter Building were not cracked, spalled, or otherwise damaged with the dents. Hence, we conclude that the dents in the metal panels caused by the hail will not affect the performance or service life of the panels, including paint and alloy surfaces on any of the inspected roofs. The roof of the south building of the Cody Arena was in very poor condition with respect to the age, weathering, related deterioration. In particular, fasteners were deteriorated, corrosion had penetrated the panels, corrosion had thinned the panels and created a large number of small crack-like openings in the thinned areas. Plains builders reported that the penetrations had been made by hail and that they had applied elastomeric sealant over the involved storm to cover the penetrations. We found no such penetrations in the many corroded spots not previously coated with elastomeric sealant. In the cracked areas coated with thin, unreinforced elastomeric sealant, we found no denting or other damage, only the rusted cracks were detectable. The two places where we removed the sealant, we found corroded material. Generally, it appeared that widespread application of sealant patches had been made to address the general condition of the roof. Sealant had been applied over screw fasteners, football prints, and ribs, and corrosion caused cracks in the panels. The Baxter Building. Roof also had been the subject of widespread and repeated repairs. Elastomeric sealant and sealant reinforcing matte patches had been made to a large number of areas. Patched areas included screws, seams, filled areas of panels, and ray coping. In many cases, repeated applications of sealants had been made. The repeated applications of sealant revealed that the roof has had long problems with leakage. Most likely, much of the leakage problems resulted from the deterioration of the gaskets around the exposed screw fasteners. What I'm going to present to you at this time is just a few pictures. This right here is your Cody Building. You can see on picture 29 indicating just a patch. That would be normal on something that's been removed up there. Picture number 30, clear indication of the rusting of the roof panels. 31, another good example, as well as 32. These are the actual roof panels up there that are rusting from the inside out. 37, 38 also indicate the rusting. This right here appears to be an elastomeric coating over some of the rusted areas. You can see the rust start to appear through. 43, 44, same issue, rust appearing through the panels. 45, then on 46, this right here was one of the rusted areas that had elastomeric coating over it that was claimed to have, the hail had created this. There was no signs due to the indentation there. 47, rust. 48 right there gives you a good example along the south face of the building, down along the area on your right there, the metal running down, that's a little different color. That right there is your rate coping. Look at your patches that are indicated all the way down through this structure right there. You see this on both the east and west sides. Picture 55 indicates an area that was covered. Once again, the engineer did not find any damage beneath that or areas of this similarity due to the hail. 56 indicated what was beneath it, rust. Picture 57 indicated rust. Picture 58 indicates a lot of repairs that has been done out there to the roof throughout the years. This right here is one of the methods utilized to inspect the dents that was created within the facility. The light colored roof you see right there between the two, this right here is the breezeway or the area that connects the McManamy building to the Cody building. This roof right here did receive 100% damage. You can see, hopefully you can see the dents within those panels, much different than the other roofs. Picture 104 at the bottom is just to indicate the food canopy court located directly west of there. Picture 109 and 110 do indicate that the hail impacts had hit this roof structure. 111, once again, indicates the type of hail dents that was left within this as being typical. Picture 117, your rate coping right there. This right here is what the insurance agreed to replace. I received most hail damage out of all of it. Then picture 118 right there is the looking at the west face of the Baxter building. 125 clearly indicates the aging of the building, the paint wearing off of it. 126 indicates the screw fasteners that are rusting out around it. 127 and 128 indicate what's referred to as a football crimp within the seams of these panels. 129, 130, you can see a lot of the repairs made down the side of this, down these roof panels. 133, 134 areas repaired out there as well. 139 and 140, once again, indicate the type of dents that was typical found on this roof system. The conclusion of the report, item number 1, just for the court's record, based on our inspection and the information discussed above, we have reached the following conclusions. Hailstones falling within the past year had caused light dents in the roof panels on all sections of the Cody Arena and 2 buildings connecting Breezeway River. Food court, canopy, and Baxter building. Number 2, the dents were light with respect to the ductility and resilience of the roofing. The dents in the metal panels will not affect the performance or surface life of the panels on any of the inspected roofs, including their paint coatings and the metallic surface alloys. Just in my closing statements, you can see where there's a lot of disagreement here. What I presented to you, as I mentioned, we had a total of 4 people go out and inspect these roofs. A question I heard that came up of a roof engineer, I honestly have never heard that terminology used before in the field. I've always referenced anybody that inspects roofs as a claim adjuster, PA, private adjuster, consultant, professional, or forensic engineer. Apparently the Tri-State Fair or others is concerned with the skill set of the ones that inspected this roof. I was very upset about that whenever I heard this comment. We had a lot of professional knowledge out there looking at these roofs. I'm not saying that the people that they have looked at their roofs was not knowledgeable. There's just a difference of opinion here. In the event through the years, of all the time I've been here at Park County, I've learned one thing about engineers. You never try to persuade a forensic engineer or an engineer, construction engineer, whatever it may be, electrical, come out and look at something. I'm gonna give you one quick example. It happened twice here in Potter County since I've been here. The four-story finance building located directly southwest of you here at one time. We had adjoining buildings tied to that. We tore the buildings back, tore them down in the 80s. That was a common roof structure with the adjacent wall. Over a period of time, we'd seen shifting within that exterior wall. I presented to the commissioners court, we need to do something. We need to do something structurally, move people out of the building. Commissioners court did not like that either. At that time, they allowed me to bring in a structural engineer. Brought in a structural engineer, came in, they did a full report, they presented a report to the commissioners court. You need to do something with the building, basically, the commissioners court did not like that answer. Turned around, went right out within a 2-month period, hired another structural engineer, hoping to get another answer. Unfortunately, that answer come back identically to the first engineer that was hired, as well as the report that I had given. The Tri-State Fair response letter that to one Mr. Kemp had sent to them, a statement made in there that hell caused some, but not all of the damage of the roofs of the building, and are unsure why the county's director of facilities would ever agree with that statement. The Baxter building is an old, weathered, worn out, 30-year-old roof system with, at times, through the years, inadequate repairs or replacement that was not allowed. They did not get a replacement. Insurance coverage right now, all they're allowing is an elastomeric coating, roof jacks, and the vent covers. Food court being the newest of the facilities, all they're allowing in that building right there is a rake coating that you see in the picture that was heavily damaged. Cody building, covered breezeway. Replacement of the metal covered breezeway, corrugated fiberglass roof panels in the ceiling of them. The main problem with the Cody, y'all, other than just what hail damage it's received the last 30 years, 25 or 30 years, the building's rusted from the inside. That building has major issues that I do not feel that hail has created. One of their requests on the conclusion of the Tri-State Fair letter to the Potter County, and each one of y'all have seen that response, was for them to bring in their own engineer. Basically it stated, if the new independent engineer's report upholds our theory that damage has occurred, we would like the Commissioners Court and the county's director of facilities to champion assurance that they would champion this report for us with tact to get the required repairs done on these buildings. Based on my professional opinion and the indisputable evidence that has been presented to you within the reports, I honestly cannot stand here before you today and change my answer. I will stand behind my answer. What I've looked at, it is of my opinion that the Tri-State Fair will continue to pursue the avenues until they get a new roof put on those buildings. I don't blame them one bit. For the last 25 years, they've not been treated fairly. The Commissioners Court is not taken care of like they should. It's just unfortunate that we're in a situation today. We had a hailstorm that happened last May. I personally do not feel that the hail caused the damage to that roof. They're old, worn out structures. They probably should have been replaced years ago due to previous storms. The Tri-State Fair brings in their own engineer's report. What are we gonna have? Potter County's report more than likely will contradict theirs. So now, it's either gonna be the Tri-State Fair or it's gonna be the Commissioners Court here trying to render a decision which way to proceed forward. In closing, as I've stated for the last 25, 30 years, something should have been done out there on those facilities. I've always stated that I'm in agreement that the roofs did receive some hail damage in the 2013 storm, but not to the magnitude to receive 100% replacement. Are the roofs in bad condition? Yes, they are. With respect to the aging, weathering, needing to have been repaired or replaced during the past years, honestly, the Tri-State Fair has done everything that they can to have kept these buildings going throughout the years. We've just faced a block in the road right now. We need to know which way to go. I'm gonna give you two options. Nobody might like, I don't like either of these two options, but at least it's something thrown out there too. Option one, allowed by state law, present the insurance funds that we have just received from the May 2013 storm, and they can utilize these funds to make the tire repairs that they choose or whichever direction they choose to proceed forth with. Whether it be on the county's insurance or on their own insurance, at that point right there, they have maintained these buildings since 1990. They maintain them. I've often wondered and questioned since 1990, well, we're even involved on the insurance out there in this aspect. I've only went out there to inspect them per the request of the Commissioner's Court or the purchasing agent. My hat's off to them. They've done a great job on trying to maintain them throughout the years. They do need help at this point right now.
How much funds are there?
Oh, all the insurance, you have that, I've got it, I'll talk about the Commissioner.
I'll add it up.
Okay. Second option, proceed forth with the allowed repairs that you've currently been received. Then proceed forth and establish the specifications to replace the Cody and the Baxter building. Replace these two roof structures. In addition, the support structure beneath the Cody building. It's not just a roof panel replacement. You're going to get into the purlins beneath that. Then at that time, you're going to have to decide who's going to pay for this. I made a comment to y'all back last year. In my opinion, I feel that the roofs need to be replaced. Not due to the insurance that's just occurred, but just due to the overage. The building's not been addressed years ago. Then at that time, require the Tri-State Fair to pay their own insurance coverage regarding these buildings, whether it's through the county or whether through their own insurance. I've got a lot put forth before you here today. And, gentlemen, I'll allow you all to speak. We got to Tri-State Fair.
So the dollar amount for everything, and that's not just these buildings, that includes commercial exhibits building as well as the fairgrounds office, is $209,981.08.
That's total.
Total, yes.
And this is what has already been approved through TAP. Have we received the monies?
Well, we've received we've received an actual cash value claim, and then if we do the work, we can get the recoverable depreciation back on some of that. But that's the total with recoverable depreciation.
Okay.
Would you like Tri-State Fair?
My name is Gary Fletcher, and I'm past president of the Trust and Exposition. We received your plan and consideration. We have to thank you very much for your due diligence and all that. And we really appreciate your recognition of the efforts that have gone on out there through the time of the prior board members and prior managers, particularly Virgil Bartlett, because since he's been there since 2001. I'm not an insurance man, and I'm not a building man. I don't have any expertise in any of those areas, which Ed does have, and so many people, and we respect them very, very much. The reason we questioned the insurance matter was, we, as our separate entity, insures some of the other buildings out there that are all on footprint, and not real terminology into it. Of the venue district, there was the bond issue was raised that built A and C building. Okay. So we insure separately some of the buildings. The same hail, so what happened? A hailstorm occurred. Significant damages occurred. We had our insurance over here on this side. The county had insurance on these buildings, these three that you mentioned, plus some additional buildings that were not inspected. Right. Correct. The insurance coverage on a building that we had insured gave us a much greater loss, significantly greater, as far as the percentage of the dollars that was pertaining to the hail damage. Well, then this might be back in a very small amount. It didn't make sense to us. And I'm not talking because of an insurance man or a building man. Just it doesn't make sense. If I, as an example, if I had damage on my home and the adjuster came and gave me a figure and I wanted to question it, I think I have the right to question that. And ask for another appraiser or another person to come along. Correct. That's what we're asking you to do. The alternative, which is the best of all, if Mr. Head's recommendation to you all would be approved, is to replace those roofs on those two older buildings. That would be the very best thing for. Because they are old buildings, they are old roofs. So I don't have the answer. I don't think our board has the answer. I didn't hear what you took as a derogatory comment. Mine was a common sense question of why the two different insurance amounts or losses were there. It wasn't in regard to what your professional opinion.
The difference, the difference that you stated initially was on the, a large difference as far as the two insurances on the roof itself, as far as hail damage. Are we speaking of specifically the 2013 hail damage?
Yes. And we have an insurance that our man represents us in our insurance, and other buildings here, he answers financial specific questions. And we have our man work with us on our buildings, some of our buildings in Burlington, and his assessment of the answers. So like I said, I'm not the expert. All I'm doing is talking about the difference of why was one coverage, one group of adjusters a significant damage due to the hailstorm of 2013. And across the street, the other buildings were a very small amount. It doesn't make, I mean, that doesn't make sense to me. But I'm not questioning it, Mr. Allen. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Why? So, and I want to reassure you, because I can tell that you hurt your person. I never heard that comment and I never stated it. Mine, and I think that all the others were common sense questions. As an example, in your reference to the aging of the Cody and the Baxter in particular, which is accurate, okay? The canopy between the two is a real big new one. The age and damages on it, but not on the two that are adjoining to it. They're not even any space between them. I mean, you might question my comment. So, I'm just a simple-minded guy. But common sense is where my questions came up, is why there's such a significant difference in the same storm, the same time, based on two different adjusters, and why we can't ask the adjusters to relook at this thing and say, hey, this doesn't make sense.
Let's put it out there. Let's put it out there first of all. Let's give them the numbers of what we're talking about as far as the difference in
the total insurance for the buildings we have through all this.
Oh, yeah.
209.
And the money we've gotten back from the other coverage was about $1.5 million. $1.5 million. Okay? And they're all at the same grounds, the same place across the streets. And they're not the same building. Let me also say, we're not just questioning this one as a common sense thing. We've also gone back and have a question on one of those building adjustments that hadn't been kind of right. So we're not taking anybody's word, just, here, take your money and go on home. We're looking at it as the guardians or the stewards of the property and doing what's appropriate and what we think is the best job possible. So that's where we're coming from, okay?
And we also have Steve Lapp in the audience, and I think you're behind the column, Steve, you have Steve directly, but we may, if it's appropriate, ask you to speak in terms of the 4 opinions that we've gotten through that process, because I think this is a question that was asked early on. And so there are now 4 opinions, the 4 reviews that you talked about, Mike, one of them being a professional engineer. So can you help us understand that process of the 4 individuals that have reviewed this claim, if you will?
I haven't been out with any of them. Mike was with all of them, I believe. And, but we have done what Gary has recommended, and, I don't know, on the first adjustment, Shay went out there. We asked for a second opinion. They sent another adjuster, and then was there another one?
No, they were the only two, and then at that time, we presented the report to the, Fair Board, and they disagreed, so we, at that time, brought out through TAC, Mr. Jenner, the engineer.
Steve, can you give us an idea of the disparity between the 1.5 million and the 209,000?
We're talking about different roofs, you know, we're talking about the Emerald National Event Center, which I think was the majority, was the biggest roof, on the property, and the most expensive roof on the property. So,
$350. How much is the money on the NC?
The difference using the same square foot evaluation from my claim as compared to what TAC is giving us is about $1,080,000.
Okay.
yes, based on the same square footage, the difference is about $1,080,000 per.
But is that, Steve, is that an appropriate comparison based on the same square footage when you talk about the composition of the roof? I mean, are you really comparing apples to apples? Or is that a simplistic approach to say, based on square footage, we should expect this?
Well, I think it's a good rule of thumb to use if you know, we're talking elastomeric coating repair versus total replacement. So there's a big cost.
And so in terms of where we are with the existing codes, because TAC has come back and TAC has given our dollar amount. There's one final piece that I think the Tri-State Fair is asking for is this appeal process, and I may not be calling it the right thing.
One point of clarification, the ANC building roof is not in that $1,080,000 comparison. The square footage comparison. The square footage comparison is just the middle roofs to middle roofs, okay?
Right.
Your comment, I wasn't working.
Some of the other roofs you're talking about are what? Me, the livestock building out there, Cody. Some of those exercise.
You've got the Glenlake, the covered cattle pens, the Tommy Grant, and the VR. Those are the 4 roofs that I get that $1,080,000 or $1,080,000.
One thing, the evidence that currently exists, one thing that TAC will not accept as refuting evidence is we got a better adjustment from somebody else. That's not evidence that they're gonna take. They're gonna need some. The Potter County is gonna have to prove up the loss that the storm caused these roofs damaged significantly enough that they need to be replaced. And it is a replacement cost policy, so they will pay for replacement cost of the roofs if there's proof that we need to replace them. Right now, the evidence that's on the table says that there's not. It's not enough hail damage. So the steps, if we want to go forward, is to prove that there is. If we have 2 refuting reports, then we go to the appraisal process that you're talking about, the appeal, the appraisal process.
But at this time, that's not the case.
That's not what we are. We don't have the evidence to signal otherwise. Is that a fair statement?
Correct. So.
Can I throw in something here? I'm Brandon Smith, insurance agent. And Steve and I work a lot together on a lot of things, but one of the things that this was a big event, this May storm was a big event. And we have found, and I'm sure Steve would agree with this, that when you go through these processes and you've got these disputes, the insurance companies hire an engineering firm. And those engineering firms, 90% of the time, are going to err in favor of the insurance company. And we have multiple claims still open, as I'm sure Steve does, where the insurers have disputed that. And they've hired another engineering firm, and Mike was using this. And you do get substantial differences between qualified engineering firms as to what the damage really is in the storm. And I think part of the points that Mike was trying to make here, I think they were very good points. And this is not y'all's responsibility or the fair's, but over the years, there have been multiple halo events out there. And the proper repairs or replacements weren't done on those roofs by the insurance companies that should have been. And I'm not a roofer, I'm not a construction person, but I'm sure that a lot of this rusting and all of this damage is a result that proper repairs were not made. And so from the fair standpoint, and I'm not a board member, so, but you know, the concern with the fair is if we don't take this process to the full extent and make sure that, I mean, it would be better to have insurance money paying to repair these things than taxpayers. And so the fair's concern is let's make sure, let's go through the process, make sure, and because they are responsible for maintaining those buildings. And there can be not only added costs upon the fair as a result of improper repairs and replacement, but there's going to be maybe events that will be affected by that. And so
I guess I'm a little bit lost there in regards to when your first statement, you indicated that a number of your experience with an insurance, there is widely known, could be a wide gap between who's ever inspecting a particular road. I find that somewhat disconcerting. But
Steve, is that happening?
Well, we've seen it happen, yes, we've seen it happen.
It happens regularly.
On a regular basis?
Absolutely.
Okay. And I guess I'm thinking about what I'm talking about in regards to the 2013 hail damage versus the existing damage that has been prolonged over the 25-year period or whatever. It is what it is, and that we have to put that on the court. That's just where we are. But in respect to this one particular issue, we're talking about the hail damage for 2013, I think we want to make sure we keep that narrowly defined and not get off riffy as far as extensive damage, peripheral damage that has been carried over the years, internal and the like. I want to see us talk specifically about and address the issue as far as the 2013 hail damage. And I'm not sure, from what I'm hearing, I'm not getting a clarity as far as leaning toward what you're saying, given that we've had a number of issues out there, even a forensic engineer that is went out there and gave us a final statement. What TAC is saying, it'd be very difficult to us to go away from what they've already stated, what they will accept, unless it is sort of a smoking gun, proven information or an inspection that could lend toward them accepting that evidence.
Do we still have other steps that can be taken? Can we still have another? I mean, is there?
Oh, you can.
Reason for another,
for long time, it can go on for as long.
We need to have an end to something.
Yeah.
Right, and I think to Mike's point, this is kind of the end to it. We've had 3 to 4 opinions on this, the final being the engineer's stamp, if you will. We're ready to proceed forward as a county to take on those repairs for the property that we insure and that's part of the discussion, or to Mike's other option, hand over the money to the tri-state and let them do what they may with those particular repairs so that we're kind of hands off if that's allowed through the process. And so I think for me, the elephant in the room is where does the financial responsibility lie? So to sum up Mike's historical background of these buildings and that the court did not take direction to repair that, well, the counter to that is that the tri-state didn't take responsibility to say the court will not do that, we need to maintain this infrastructure as well. So I really feel like there's both parties. The reality is this contract is $1 a year, $1. And so I think that for me is the elephant in the room of where does the financial responsibility lie? And it's been it's been kicked down the road for quite some time, and it's just been kind of implied because the repairs haven't been done. But just because the commissioners court at that time didn't approve the repairs, that didn't take away the fact that the repairs were necessary to maintain the integrity of the building.
We have continued to do that on the repairs. You correct me if I'm stating wrong. The repairs have continued to be made. not to the extent of replacing that roof, but other buildings have been demolished, other buildings have been.
Right.
All the maintenance has been performed. It's coming to the point now, particularly to the Cody of worship.
They're beyond maintenance.
Yeah, they're beyond maintenance.
They're
And
beyond
so again, the financial responsibility of who wants to put that bill. And from my perspective as a guardian of taxpayer dollars, that's very difficult to go to a taxpayer and say that we ultimately have that responsibility to maintain property that we get $1 a year on.
My comment about the Commissioner is that, again, I'm not an insurance man, and these two gentlemen are. My understanding is this is not a cosmetic, it's not a cosmetic
Damage exclusion.
So if the damages are there and it is covered, then it could be repaired by the insurance. Is that correct? Is that correct?
But I think to Steve, and not to interrupt you, I'm sorry, Gary, to Steve's point is, if that's approach the county wants to take, we need to have evidence to counter that. And we don't feel, and I'm leaning on Mike, obviously as our director of facilities, we don't feel like we have that evidence to do that, in all honesty.
But that's what we were all willing to do here, is to have another person come in to look at it, and you're saying that that's not acceptable?
Well, yeah, I know, I'm just in disagreement with it only because you're gonna have two reports that more than likely are gonna contradict each other. And I think if you're talking about an appeal process with a third alternative viewpoint, that puts the county up again above.
Well, we'll have to have this discussion again, it's just when
And
the
given what
decisions
Tag has
are made.
already indicated to us, unless we've got full evidence to the contrary, I think this court is, we're not looking at doing ping pong here. We're basically, just making decisions.
One of the questions that came up in the engineer that did this on behalf of TAC, one of the questions that kind of came up through that is, and Mike, you correct me if I'm wrong, they refer to different types of metal, different gauges of metal in those buildings. Well, they're all the same. We've got a representative from Plain Steel Building, and so that kind of threw up a red flag. Is does this engineer is referring to different types of metal and different gauges of metal? So then, and that kind of threw a red flag at us.
Well,
Would that throw up a red flag from your perspective, Steve?
Well, I guess, did you guys have an engineer, did you guys have a forensic engineer do the replacement on the?
Well, we're relying on.
But my point is that we can't go to TAC with less substantial evidence than what we currently have. In other words, we can't go refuting the evidence we currently have based on another report that was done on different buildings that are next to it.
And I guess the question that certainly comes up now, if there is different gauge, but you indicated, would that have been a significant on as far as how bad it was rated, whether it was as far as an insurance adjuster, or would have been stated at the rate?
What do you get, 26 gauge?
Yeah, he'd call it ladder gauge. It would have made some difference in it, but I'd like to speak to a couple of things that Steve has alluded to. Correct me if I'm wrong, AISD has hired Crenshaw right now, haven't they? That's right. Because there's a significant disparity in what the insurance company has wrote them as an appraisal and what they feel like is accurate on their facilities, right? Emerald National Bank, they have 12 facilities right now that the appraisal that came back is about $2.3 million less than what the actual cost is going to be to repair those facilities. Okay, they've hired us to come in there and fight with the insurance company in order to get them a fair adjustment. The way this works, and Steve can correct me if I'm wrong, if the fairgrounds is allowed to hire their own consultant, and they come in and they have a differing opinion of the insurance company's consulting, because that's all it was the insurance company's consultant is what it was. Then those two consultants get together and they find a third consultant, and then they reach an agreement, and they come back and they bring that agreement back to you. If the fairgrounds is willing to pay that cost, and it's at no cost to y'all, but it can possibly get you another $1 million in insurance claims on these facilities and get these issues taken care of. I mean, I own property in Potter County and I pay taxes. I would sure hate for my tax money to be used when there's a possibility for an insurance company to pay for it. And I look at it, I mean, I just look at it from a kind of a simple common sense standpoint. If I have somebody run into my car, I don't go to the insurance adjuster and say, oh, there were 3 scratches on there from other things that happened or some other damage, and I only want you to pay me for part of what I got. And that's not what this policy is. This policy is very specific. It says they can either repair it or replace it. And they didn't even address, I mean, one of the things that we've kind of been dancing around, like the food court was only a year old when this damage occurred. They're choosing to come in and give you $3,900 to just fix the trim around the perimeter when the hail damage occurred on the entire roof. They haven't given you a fair repair on the roof of the food court. They haven't addressed Kimball 1 and 2 or the warehouse. Those claims haven't even been filed. And so there is a significant difference in what I feel like Potter County should be getting from the insurance company, whether or not they've ever gone back and done these repairs in the past. I appreciate what Mr. Head says. Whether those repairs were ever made, the fact of the matter